talk to you about access to traditional banking and other types of business services that CBD, hemp, cannabis has basically been denied. Wrongly, rightly, that's up for debate, but I'm going to offer some solutions to those of you that are facing them, have faced them, or are about to face them. But before I get started, I see we've got a nice group of people. Everybody here from, how many people here are from Florida? How many? Anybody from the East Coast of the U.S.? East Coast? West Coast? Anybody travel far? West Coast? Marcus from the West Coast. Okay, so we got a nice cross section. Anybody here from Central South America? No? Okay, I know that hemp, CBD, cannabis, those businesses are taking off in Central South America. So you're going to start getting able to interact either on the internet or online or with other folks in other parts of the world that this industry is taking off for. Let me introduce myself since I find out where you guys are from. My name's Steve Waldman. I'm from Miami. I'm not the guy that cut you off on your way here on I-4. That was a different Miami driver. I drive okay. But I'm from South Florida, and for the last 20 years, I've been in the diamond business. So you're wondering, why am I sitting here listening to some guy who's in the diamond business at the CBD festival? Why in the world am I sitting here? Well, it's a good story. I've got a lot to offer to people in this industry. And the answer is simple. In the diamond trade, about 15 to 20 years ago, we had a lot of bad things happening where the diamonds are purchased, the rough diamonds. The diamond tears, those are the people that buy the rough, and then we cut and polish it and sell it, and then it gets to the jewelry stores. The diamond tears were, some of them were caught up in some illegal schemes, and they call it blood diamonds. They made a movie about it, where they trade diamonds for cash, or diamonds for weapons, or diamonds for gold, or drugs, or other bad things. And all that's terrible, and it should be eliminated, and 99% of it has been eliminated today. But the impact on the diamond trade was devastating. The banking impacts were devastating. Basically, if you were in the diamond business 20 years ago, and I don't mean the guys in the mall selling rings, I mean the people like me that go to the most horrible places on the planet, and they buy the rough, and they have cash, and there's a security guy there, and then you got to get the diamonds out of there. Well, in order to do that, basically all of our financing disappeared. All of our bank accounts disappeared. No banks would deal with people at that level of the diamond trade. So what do? I mean, I have some very scary people that I buy diamonds from. And now all of a sudden I've got to tell them, well, when I sell what I bought from you, I don't have a place for my customers to send the money. My customers aren't just going to give me cash. The guys I buy from, they want cash because they're scary guys. So I've got to give them cash. But when I sell, I cut the stones, I polish them, and then I sell them to wholesalers, dealers, jewelry designers. When I do that sale, people want to wire me money. And guess what? I couldn't get a bank account, all my accounts at HSBC. HSBC offshore, HSBC onshore, closed. Mellon Bank, closed. Banks that I had in the European Union, before it was the European Union, all closed. And this is a very similar situation of being denied access to normal everyday banking services and everything that goes with it that a lot of people in hemp, CBD, and the cannabis trade are facing. So I want to have a discussion with you today about tried and true, tested strategies that can get you access to the banking systems and everything that comes with it. And when I say tried and true, it is tried and true. because the diamond business is still going. It didn't disappear. It did weed out a lot of players that weren't being transparent. They weren't compliant with rules and regulations promulgated by international organizations and domestic organizations. But if you can be compliant and transparent, you can have the access to the services that you deserve. Now, with the diamond trade, not only was it legislative that we had all these issues, but it was also a social issue that the banks didn't want to deal with. With hemp, CBD, cannabis, I think you have the social issue on your side. I think by and large, people want access to goods and services that can help people. And I think it's been overtly demonstrated that CBD, hemp, cannabis, it definitely helps people. So why are these barriers there that are creating barriers for legal growers, wholesalers, formulators, and retailers that are having such problems? The problem with you guys in your industry is mainly legislative. You have legislative gridlock. Everybody was very excited when the Farm Bill passed. That was a year ago. So in the last year, what's gone on? In the last year, what happens is you have government agencies that have to promulgate regulations. Some of those regulations just came out, and they have the funniest names for them. The final temporary regulations, meaning they're still in a comment period, they can still change. That's from the Department of Agriculture and the FDA. All these things are up in the air from a perspective federally. Then you have the states that have to follow, and there's going to be more gridlock. And until all those rules are promulgated, banks, insurance companies, they want to back off. They're very conservative, and they don't want to have anything to do, really, with this type of industry, even though they see the financial gain in the long run. For right now, they're very conservative. So other things, other than the miraculous passage of the Farm Bill, which will work its way through the legislative agencies and promulgate regulations that everyone can understand and abide by, you also have the Safe Banking Act. That Safe Banking Act passed, okay? It went through the House. It hasn't made it through the Senate yet. Most people that have an opinion about the Banking Act think that within the Senate, it's not going to be a matter of the overwhelming passage as it was in the House, but it may turn into a referendum on whether certain items should be a Schedule I drug or they shouldn't be a Schedule I drug, which means that it might go back to the House in a completely different form, reemerge, and then if it does reemerge from the House and the Senate, then you've got to get the Treasury Department to issue regulations. All these things take time. These are government agencies. These aren't business people. You're business people. You want things done so you can make money, engage in commerce, grow your businesses, support your family. But the government regulatory agencies, those guys get paid at the end of every week, whether they do anything or they don't do anything. So you are going to have to be proactive to get the banking services that you need. Anybody who's contemplating or is in this space, cannabis, hemp, CBD, you're a success story. But success is not a permanent condition. It's not a permanent condition. You've got to continue to be entrepreneurial. You've got to continue to look beyond the edge of your desk for solutions to problems. You can't just sit there and say, well, I'm in an industry and everyone in my industry has the same problem. Everybody has issues with banking, with insurance. I may have an account today and may have a merchant processor today, but tomorrow I may get a certified letter in the mail and suddenly I don't have a merchant processor anymore. Or my bank 60 days from now wants to close all my accounts. You can't just sit there and be passive. To be a success story, you've got to look beyond the edge of your desk and fashion remedies that will result in a tangible result. The people that do that will emerge and be the leaders in this field. The people that don't do that, that want to follow, you're going to be dancing to the tune of somebody else's drumbeat. It could be one of you sitting here today that says, I'm going to take some of the ideas that I get from Steve, and I'm going to run with them. And 2 years from now, 18 months from now, maybe 8 months from now, you may be the one orchestrating the music that everyone in your industry is going to dance to relative to finance, insurance, and access to banking services. Or you could be the guy that sits there and says, well, everybody's going with this group, so I'm going to go with that group too. And you can all sit around and complain that, yeah, the problem with this group is they require all kinds of regulatory paperwork, and I basically have to create a whole nother business within my business to keep my bank account open. And that's what's happening. There's plenty of people that you can meet, even today in this expo, that will get you a bank account. The question is, can you keep the bank account? Keeping the bank account may require tremendous regulatory issues on your part, meaning you may have to do all kinds of documentation. So in addition to waiting for the Treasury Department to regulate everything, you want to have the benefits that all other normal businesses have. You want to have access to items like business checking, money market, being able to deposit cash. You want to be able to have access to financing. All of those things. You may be able to get that in a limited capacity, but you may be spending so much time devoted to keeping all of that regulatory paperwork going and giving it to the bank on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, that it's almost like you work for the bank, not yourself. Your business doesn't get to grow. So what did we do? What we did in the diamond business when we were basically barred from most banks, except for 2 or 3 in the world, is we set up what are called captives. I'm going to talk about 3 different types of solutions. One of them is called a captive trust. The other is a captive finance company. And the third, I'm sure you're all familiar with, is cryptocurrency. So I'm going to talk about all 3 of those as solutions and pathways forward for those who don't want to be involved with the weekly, daily, monthly, and quarterly onerous requirements to deal with a U.S. bank and deal with your merchant account provider who's charging you a ridiculous fee because he knows he can, because there's no other options for you. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a captive trust. What is a captive trust? I say the word captive. Captive just means that the trust is owned by you, and it's only for you and your clients, okay? That's all this means. It's captive. It's not for every person on the planet. It's yours. You own it. So with a captive trust, one of the things that you can do is you establish it. It's like setting up a company. You set up a company, and then you can put the shares of your existing business into that company. What does that do? One thing it does is it removes you from the specter of all these horrible plaintiffs' lawyers that are out there that sooner or later are going to come after this industry. You see what's going on with the vaping right now, where there's class action lawsuits that 3 months ago, there was nothing. Now suddenly, you're involved with vaping and you are selling it or making it or distributing it. It's only a matter of time before you're dragged into something. So if you put the shares of your hemp, CBD, cannabis business into a captive trust, that trust becomes the entity that can get you banking. And that banking will be out of the U.S., but U.S. banks are not even in the top 50 of the most secure banks in the world. So you will have a trust. You put your shares into that. If you have cash and you want it to hold cash, if you're a farmer and you want it to hold real estate, if you want it to hold your licenses, you can put it there. That means it's beyond the reach of any U.S. plaintiff. Anyone that were to sue your entity in the future, you're going to be successful. You're going to have something to protect. You put it there. It's offshore. They can't get it. When you put all of these assets offshore, you will basically become your own bank. I work with groups that when you set up the offshore trust, you will get, anybody here send an international wire? Anyone who sent an international wire here knows that you have to have something called a SWIFT code. If you send a domestic wire, it's an ABA code. But when you set up your offshore trust, you will get your own BIC. A BIC is the bank account identification code. It's just like a SWIFT. It's like your account number. So any business that you do, all the money, you can send it in to your own account. And then you're in total control of it. You'll have access online, just like when you look up your Chase account now, it's online. You look up your trust account, everything will be there. That's one of the solutions, to have the offshore trust. A more exciting solution is a captive finance company. What's a captive finance company? It sounds weird. A captive finance company is the same thing as, for example, Ford Motor Credit, or when you go to Bloomingdale's and you have a Bloomingdale's charge card. Captive finance just means that you are financing your customers. So a captive finance company, you set up a company. It's a company just like the company you have here. You can transfer assets to that company. Some of the assets you're going to transfer is money. Your banking is going to be done through the captive finance company. What it does is it takes all your assets offshore. No plaintiff's lawyers here can touch them. If you ever got in trouble with your licenses, they wouldn't be able to reach back and get it because the money's not here. But it's no different than you having a bank account anywhere else on the planet. You'll have online access on your phone, on your computer. The beauty of captive finance is that in addition to your core business, whatever that is, whether you're a retailer or you're a farmer or you're a wholesaler, you now have the ability to finance your own clients. There's study after study that shows that if you have your own store-branded credit card that you can hand out to your clients, those people will buy more than if they have to reach into their pocket and pay out of their own pocket. So you can extend credit to your clients that they can sign for your goods and services. Then, if they pay on a timely basis, it's like a normal transaction. You've got the money, it's offshore, it's protected. But if they don't pay, because they bought more than they normally would have bought, they're buying on credit. You're going to charge them an interest rate. This becomes another profit center for you. It's a fantastic profit center for you. So think of all the stores that you go into, and they have their own card. They're doing that because they know if you have their card, they know that you're probably going to buy more than if you had to reach into your pocket and pay with your own money. So that's a huge benefit. Now, how do you keep track of all of these people that have your card? 10 people have it, 20 people have it. Maybe I'm a farmer and I want to extend credit to 10 wholesalers. How do I keep track of that? I don't want to become a bookkeeper. The packages that are put together for the trust and for the captive finance come with banking applications that can be on your phone and on your computer, and your client can look up their account and you can look up their account and they can make payments over the internet. It's no different than if you just got your card at Bloomingdale's and you want to log on and make your Bloomingdale's payment this month. Or if you were Bloomingdale's looking and say, well, I want to see if Steve paid his bill this month. You can just log on 24/7, no matter where you are in the world, and you can do this. It's a fantastic profit center for you. In addition, the foreign banks, if you're using a trust mechanism or you're using captive finance, they're not going to be bothered with all of the rigmarole that you have to do and hoops you have to jump through and compliance that you have to deal with a U.S. bank. Just try it. There's people here, the application is worse than your mortgage application. If you think that buying a house or a condo or a business was bad, on a monthly basis, you're going to have quality assurance reviews, financial reviews, which are part and parcel of doing business in this fashion. But if you do this through the captive finance or the trust, all of a sudden, your standard bookkeeping is going to be whatever's good enough for you is going to be good enough for the bank, because they're not going to be looking to yank your license or worried that you're not in compliance with regulatory authority here in the U.S. They don't care. As long as the money's coming in and you can sign standard anti-money laundering requirements that this money's clean, clear, unencumbered, of non-criminal origin, that's what they care about. They don't care about whether the THC level is 0.3 for the conglomeration of whatever you just sold or whatever you just bought. They're not going to get into that. They're not going to ask for breakdowns of every one of your customers and know your client and have to have a folder this thick on every person that you do business with over the course of a year. They're not going to do that. So this is a tremendous opportunity, and it's a proven one. This is what we did in the diamond business. With my company, we were buying $5 to $6 million worth of diamond rough on a monthly basis from scary places all over the planet. Whether I was in Azerbaijan, not good, but that's where the stones were. Or I had to go to the northeast corner of Russia, up by Vladivostok in the Mirny mine area, not good. Or I had to go to some place in Africa where I had to have 50 shots before I could even go there. What we did in order to be able to continue our business was institute these business operations. We set up a trust to own parts of our business, and we also set up a captive finance company because I sell to wholesalers. My wholesalers every month want to buy, but they may not have money every month to buy. So what do? I do captive financing for them. They have a running account, they make payments, I can cut them off, I can do whatever I want. I can still file UCC 1s against anything that they have here in the United States, and all of your people are all in the US, so you can secure yourself, you can give them inventory and file UCCs against it, you can certainly protect yourself in every way, shape, or form. But you now have the ability to get financing. You can also do merchant accounts through this. And when I say merchant accounts, not merchant accounts at crazy interest rates. We're talking competitive merchant account rates, not 5.9% and a percentage going to the guy who set you up with the merchant account. For the rest of his life, he's feeding his family and sending his kids through college because he set you up with a merchant account once upon a time. We're talking about you taking control and you being a success today and down the road. I guarantee you, the one or two people that do captive financing, suddenly you're going to see online or in your publications, you're going to suddenly see somebody's offering to sell me goods and I can apply for credit with them. Well, what is that? That's captive financing. Somebody's going to do that, and when they do that, they're the ones that are going to take control of a whole corner of your industry. They are going to start doing that, and when they do, they're going to have lots and lots of the clients that you were running for. Whether you're a retailer, if you're a retailer and you can offer a card to the people, they're going to buy more. If you're a wholesaler and you're selling to the retailers and you can finance them more. If you're the manufacturer, suddenly that manufacturer, that retailer, that wholesaler is going to have a ton of clients. They're going to be coming out of the woodwork because they're going to do a basic application and you're going to give them the credit. And you can still lien all their property. So you're totally protected. But try to do that right now with a U.S. bank account. Number one, you're going to have to open the account, then stay in their good stead, and hope none of their board members catch a cold about CBD or cannabis, because they'll send you a 60-day letter saying, listen, we've got to close your account in the next 60 days because we're no longer going to deal with clients that have this until it's further along legislatively. So these are all issues that have been tried and true and things that we did in the diamond trade. Another option for you is cryptocurrency. And I'm sure that everybody here has thought about, well, if I can't do banking and that becomes an issue, I'll just accept cryptocurrency. Well, there's good and bad with that. The good with that is, yes, you could accept cryptocurrency. Some of the bad part about that is most cryptocurrency is not backed by anything. It's backed by the popularity of the crypto. Bitcoin's a perfect example. It's very popular, but it's backed by nothing. It's backed by social acceptance and popularity. There are some cryptos that are backed by physical assets. There's some in Europe that are backed by gold, but the gold prices go up and down and those people don't have the money to do it. I have a client that is doing crypto that's backed by, why I'm here, they're backed by diamonds. And diamonds are a stable asset. You can transport them anywhere, and their values have gone up decade after decade after decade. So there are cryptos out there that are backed by diamonds that if you're going to accept crypto, make sure that you're dealing with a crypto that's backed by something, so that if it goes to zero, there's something backing it up that you can still get money. But even if you accept crypto, you still come back to an issue. When you go to the grocery store and you have to pay for your groceries, they want cash. So you've got your crypto, you still have to turn it into cash. So you still have to deal with a bank somewhere along the line. And you're back to square one. All you're doing is kicking the can down the road when you're dealing with crypto. Unless you're dealing with a crypto that's backed by something, in which case you can take delivery of the item, or they can give you the cash in some other place, like offshore. But most cryptos won't do that. The diamond trade crypto will do that. So these are things that you have to think about with your business. Now, everybody here is embarking in an area that there's great riches that you can make. I'm not in the CBD business. I'm not in the cannabis business. I don't have a dog in this fight. But I came here and I've talked at some other cannabis and CBD expos because I see very good business people that really want to make a difference, that want to bring something to the people that can help them, and I see that they're being denied banking services. So I'm here not to sell a product, not to say come to my booth when you're done and I have all the answers for you, but I'm here to tell you that banking services are essential to any business. And sadly, what's happened with CBD is very similar to what happened in the diamond trade. But we didn't give up. We didn't fold up our tent and say, oh, well, you know, the universe is against me and I can't do it. We came up with captive trust. We came up with captive finance. And our businesses are stronger than ever, larger than ever. I still have to deal with scary people in bad places, but at least I know it's worth it because I have access to the money and I can finance my clients and everybody's happy. And I don't have to look over my shoulder or worry when the mailman comes that I'm getting a letter from my bank that says, hey, we can't give you services anymore because some guy in Washington's intern passed out after they had a CBD drink, and we think it's a bad idea now to offer banking finance. Another issue that you have to face that other businesses routinely get is insurance. Banking and insurance go hand in hand. They're super conservative industries. So I just talked upstairs with a group of lawyers. I'm a lawyer too, but I don't practice anymore. I'm just a banking guy and a diamond guy. But I was upstairs with these lawyers, and they're all talking about this legislative opinion came out, and there's 30 more days to amend it, and you've got to give feedback to all of this gobbledygook nonsense. Well, let's assume that you're able to get some kind of insurance. You're a farmer, you get crop insurance. Or you are a wholesaler and you have insurance for the goods and you're driving them to your retailers. If in any way you're out of compliance with the U.S. regulatory schemes, meaning from the FDA, meaning from the Department of Agriculture, or once the Safe Banking Act is passed, any regulatory scheme that the Treasury Department issues, if you're out of compliance with any one of those things, the insurance company isn't looking to pay you money and make you whole in the event of a loss. They're going to look at all of those regulatory schemes and hold them up and go through them with a fine-tooth comb to see if there's any way that you screwed something up that they can say, well, you're not in compliance with subsection J of this act that was promulgated 6 years ago. So you have to take this into your own hands. If you can become a captive trust, if you can become a captive finance company, you can self-insure yourself. You can get this insurance, the initial coverage offshore, without being subject to all of the regulatory issues that happen here. I do it. I'm shipping diamonds, millions of dollars of stones all over the world on a monthly basis. Do I insure them all? Every single one of them. Do I lien every one of my wholesalers? Absolutely. I'm totally protected from beginning to end. But do I do it all through a U.S. regulatory scheme? No, that's crazy, because there's too many tricks. There are too many traps for the trusting. You meet with your wonderful Hartford agent or your Geico agent or your Allstate agent, and they smile and you pay your money every month and you give them the policy, and when it comes time for a claim, whoa, it goes to their legal department, and suddenly they're looking at every single thing your business ever did to see if they can connect it to a way to deny coverage. The same thing will happen with your bank. At a certain point, all of the diligence that your bank has to do to be compliant, to keep their FDIC insurance. The banks have their own insurance, federal deposit insurance. They don't want to do anything that will risk that, because if they risk that, no one will deposit with them. So at a certain point, having you in a borderline industry as a client, it becomes either too risky for them, or they're not making enough money from you that they're just going to drop you. There are clients now in Canada, big hemp producers, big cannabis producers. They have U.S. banking relationships. The U.S. banks have told them, you can stay in Canada, don't ever bring any of that into the U.S. The moment you do one transaction within the U.S., we cannot be your bank anymore. And these are not mom and pop type people. These are 50, 60, $70 million corporations that are being held by the short hairs of the banks in New York. It's a cabal of banks. They are totally controlled by the FDIC. They don't want to lose any of their ability to insure the money. So they say, you want banking services, you got to do it our way. Some of those parties have spoken with me or listened to some of my talks, and I've set them off on the right path, and one of them just set up a captive trust and a captive finance company, and very soon they're going to be expanding their business, not just in Canada, but they're going to be selling all over, because the bank that they're now dealing with is basically themselves. they become their own bank. The entity they're setting up as a trust becomes the bank. Their finance company becomes their own bank. They don't need a bank to do it. Now, it will be lodged in a bank, yes, but they will have their own separate SWIFT identification number, so it's like they're a bank. If you were to wire me money to my U.S. Chase account, you'd have to have my bank account number and Chase's ABA number, American Banking Association number. If you were wiring from offshore, Chase has a SWIFT number. Okay, you'd have to know Chase's SWIFT number. But if you were to wire to my trust or to wire to my finance company, you're wiring to me. You're not wiring to another financial institution that then puts it in my account. I have my own SWIFT number. It's mine. It's my company's. So that's the benefit of what you'll be having. So I don't really have anything else to add at this point. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I can try and answer your question. And if not, just remember, you're all successful. Just the fact that you're here makes you a success. You're trying to better yourself, you better your business, better your family situation, but you can't be complacent. As I said, success is not a permanent condition. You've got to continue to motivate yourself, your employees, your staff, and your family, and you have to come up with solutions to problems. You can't just say, well, that's the way it is for the whole industry. The whole industry has this problem. Who am I to be the one to fix it? You can be the one to fix it. It's not that hard. And if you're the one that fixes it, suddenly you may have more clients than you can handle. You're going to be that guy. In every business, there's somebody like this. There's always somebody in every business where there was a problem systemic to the business. And someone solved that problem, and that guy became the major player in the business. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to challenge yourself, not just to walk around and say, well, gee, if I buy that and I buy this, I can move 10,000 units in 3 weeks. That's fantastic. But you've got to look beyond the edge of your desk. Success is not defined by how many units you're going to sell or move. You've got to transform yourself. This industry is wide open. It's wide open right now. In the months to come, a year from now, it will look totally different than it looks right now. You have the first mover's advantage. So use that first mover's advantage to be that person to implement strategies that will perpetuate your success, because it's not permanent. Now, I don't know, anyone have any questions that you want to ask? Maybe I can answer them. Anybody? Go ahead. Okay, good question. The question is, setting up a captive trust. Who regulates the captive trust? There are rules for captive trust. They're regulated by the jurisdiction that you set it up in. That means if you set it up in Belgium, it's regulated by rules that regulate Belgium trust, or Swedish trust, or Swiss trust. Naturally, if you do this, I'll give you my information. You can reach out to me. I can give you some guidance. You're going to want to do it in a jurisdiction that is wide open as far as what you can do with a trust. You could put anything in it: gold, stock, the title to a thoroughbred horse, money, banking accounts, your land, your property, your car. That's the kind of jurisdiction you're looking for. And there's plenty of them out there that are wide open. And those are the ones generally that will allow you to transition from, once you set it up, to becoming your own bank, basically. Okay, that's an excellent question. But it does depend on the jurisdiction. But we're talking about solid jurisdictions. We're not talking about, even though the islands are close to here, there's so many bad things that happen there. We're not talking about that. We're talking about going to establish European Union or some of the Shogun areas around the EU that are also established, either Switzerland or the EU or maybe Sweden. Those are the places. They're stable. They're not going to be subject to some kind of government takeover. It's not going to be Venezuela. It's It's Sweden or Switzerland or some other place like that. Anybody else?